The last messages that we received was that she was scared. She was scared, she was terrified.
Tonight, double tragedy for a Mi'kmaq family. One sister's murder 12 years ago is still unsolved. Now a second sister goes missing.
I don't think anybody had time to be scared. We had to evacuate. Yeah, we had to evacuate, and we had to leave our community.
Wildfires continue to force evacuations from remote First Nations across Western Canada.
To all the residential schools in Canada, not to leave anybody out, do them all.
And survivors from Canada's first and oldest residential school call for more searches. Good evening, welcome to APTN National News. I'm Daryl Stranger. The family of Tanya Brooks is going through another heartache. Brooks was murdered 12 years ago in a still unsolved case. Now they're searching for her sister, Adria Gloade. As Angel Moore reports, it has taken them from their Mi'kmaq community in Nova Scotia to Montreal.
We haven't talked to her in over 6 days now. I was in contact with her.
That's Adria Gloade. She drove from Nova Scotia to Montreal to search for her sister, Adria Gloade, who has been missing since July 13th, 2021, handing out this flyer with Adria's description. Garrett Gloade is Adria's brother. He stayed in Millbrook First Nation to search for his 37-year-old sister online. He says tips and messages led to the search in Montreal. Adria's last text message led to the family filing a missing persons report.
And the last messages that we received was that she was scared. That she was scared, she was terrified, and that if we don't hear from her within 24 hours, that file a missing persons report.
Adria Marie Gloade, 37 years old, of Millbrook First Nation, is 5 foot 7 inches tall and around 140 pounds. It's another tragedy for the Gloade family. In 2009, Tanya Brooks was murdered. Her body left near a school in Halifax in a case that remains unsolved. Brooks, Adria, Tamara, and Garrett are all siblings.
You know, it's a rare thing for a family to go through this one time. Unfortunately, this is the second time that, not only myself, but my sister Tamara and Adria and the rest of my sister Tanya Brooks's family have gone through this. So,
Gloade says his family will keep searching for Adria to come home.
You never ever think that your family or loved ones would be in this position, but hopefully wherever she is, she's fine, she's okay, she's being strong, she's being a survivor. We just want her home.
Anyone with any information is asked to contact the RCMP in Nova Scotia or Crime Stoppers. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Millbrook First Nation.
An update on the raging forest fires in northern Manitoba. More than 1,600 people from 4 reserves have been evacuated, and members of the Canadian military have been deployed to assist in relief efforts. Residents of Pungassi, Little Grand Rapids, Barons River, and Bloodvein First Nations are being sent to Winnipeg and Brandon, where they will be put up in hotels by the Canadian Red Cross. Some of these evacuees are from Bloodvein First Nation. They were taken down by bus, and many arrived at 3 this morning. APTN's Michelle Carlenze caught up with a few of them at a downtown Winnipeg hotel.
It's so sad. I had to leave all my stuff behind, and all the food and all the people's foods and all the defreezes, and I don't know, they'll probably all go into waste.
I don't think anybody had time to be scared. We had to evacuate. Yeah, we had to evacuate, and we had to leave our community.
Everybody's emotional, doing their best to keep happy, cheer each other up, tell jokes, but we just hope for the best, pray for everybody, and everything will turn out okay.
This morning, BC Premier John Horgan faced the media for the first time since his government called a province-wide state of emergency. This coming just days after saying that drastic measure wasn't needed. Some are questioning if the province was too slow to react to the forest fire situation. To date, there have been over 1,000 forest fires in the province, with weeks or possible months left in the fire season. The latest hotspot is near Osoyoos in wine country. A full evacuation order in the area has affected members of the Osoyoos Indian Band, its winery and resort. Across the province, there have been 40 evacuation orders impacting nearly 6,000 people. Some evacuees traveled hours before finding shelter, and tourists have been encouraged to go home in order to open up rooms. The Premier says the emergency order ensures the province now has the resources to deal with mass evacuations.
We are doing our best to make sure we're protecting people, property, protecting our forests and the wildlife that depend on it. There's a whole range of challenges. We could spend the day talking about just the issues affecting the southeast, much less the caribou, the Okanagan, into the boundary country. The island is heating up. We have one reprieve in the north, which allows us to, because of the weather changing there, we can reallocate resources from the northwest, for example, to assist elsewhere.
Protesters gathered outside of the Campbell River RCMP detachment in British Columbia. Officers there shot and killed a man in early July. Shouts of justice for Jared could be heard from the crowd. Dozens arrived to demand an investigation into the death of Jared Lowndes. The 38-year-old Wet'suwet'en man was shot by police on July 8th, and supporters want an independent investigation into his death. Lowndes' mother, Laura Holland, confronted officers inside the detachment. A warning: this material may be upsetting to some viewers.
You understand every time I close my eyes, I see my son's brain blown out.
The Independent Investigations Office of BC is now looking into the shooting. RCMP could not comment on the case. And we want to hear what you think about Lowndes' death and the Investigations Office now looking into it. Here's how to continue the conversation. Send your emails to news@aptn.ca. Leave a comment on aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and now TikTok. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. The U.S. land border will remain closed to non-essential travel for Canadians until at least August the 21st. This comes just days after our federal government announced that Canada would start allowing fully vaccinated Americans to cross the border for non-essential travel beginning August 9th.
Part of the relationship between ourselves and our colleagues and friends in the United States is an approach of no surprises at the border. Our work has always been collaborative, cooperative, and very candid. We're working very well together. There are a number of considerations that I know that the American government is currently undertaking with respect to their borders, and that work will continue. Our responsibility, of course, is to look after the best interests of Canadians and to follow the advice of our public health officials.
Blair says he respects the decisions the U.S. government makes in the best interest of its citizens. We have to take a short break, but still ahead, a new study on hunger has been completed in Nunavut, what that means for communities.
We have a range of programming that focuses on food access, food skills, and advocacy work.
Welcome back. It's a major funding announcement from the federal and Ontario governments, and it will help one former residential school complete the repairs needed in order to open its doors to the country and the world. APTN's Elena McDougall has more from the Woodlands Cultural Centre near Six Nations in Ontario.
Kind of like long overdue.
Geronimo Henry looks forward to the reopening of the Woodland Cultural Centre at the former Mohawk Institute Residential School.
For the renovations, they used to hire us survivors to take their class, the school kids through, or even just tourists that wanted to tour through the school. They'd hire survivors to take them through the whole school, because we knew where everything was in the school, right? So we knew where the laundry room, the playroom, stuff like that, upper dorm, lower dorm. We knew the whole, the school inside out, basically, and where some of the stuff happened too, like some of the abuses there, stuff like that.
The Save the Evidence campaign raised funds to restore the building, which has remained closed for over a year. Following the discovery of unmarked graves at residential schools across the country, the federal and provincial governments announced they would help.
The Government of Canada is contributing over $7.6 million for Phase 3 of the Save the Evidence project at the Woodland Cultural Centre, which will help rehabilitate the Mohawk Institute residential school site.
Ontario also committed $1.8 million to the project, which will replace windows, repair heating and masonry, and the addition of an elevator will mean all can access the centre. Six Nations of the Grand River took ownership of the property after the school closed in 1970.
And as the largest First Nation in Canada, we have a unique ability and duty to tell our story. The Mohawk Institute is one of the sadder and more challenging parts of our history. This place was the earliest and longest running residential school in this country, operating for 142 years. The intent was the same as at so many other similar sites across this country, which was to change us, to make us someone other than who we are.
Geronimo Henry said he chose to speak because those who never made it home can't. He hopes every site will be searched for graves.
To all the residential schools in Canada, not to leave anybody out, do them all. That's what I want anyway. So then there will be no doubt, we want the truth to come out. So, and that's what I'm all about, getting the truth out there. Geronimo has spoken.
Good. Yeah. Elena McDougall, APTN National News.
The National Indian Residential School Crisis Line is available for survivors and others who might need support. That number is 1-866-925-4419. After previous camps and tents by homeless people have been taken down in Alberta, the hamlet of Lac La Biche is partnering with the Métis Nation of Alberta to provide a place for those looking for a place to stay. The temporary lodgings will be located 5 kilometers outside Lac La Biche, which is north of Edmonton and is supported by both the community and the MNA. Daily transportation will be available to and from the camp and town. It has a lease to operate until July of 2022 and is planned to open by September.
Instead of the homeless camp being ripped down every 6 months or every year, whatever the case is, and these people are chased from place to place, we had to come up with a solution, and we just talked to them. So at least we can leave the people there until we can come up with a bigger plan. So the county's actually working on it right now. They have a task force that's put together that are working on some transitional housing. But we still need a place from now till that comes up.
In the north, the Inuit Tapiri Kanatomi has completed a study on hunger in Inuit communities. Our reporter Kent Driscoll went to see the people in Iqaluit who helped to feed the hungry to see what the announcement means to the people.
This is the Kajuktuvik Food Center in Iqaluit. In Inuktitut, Kajukturvik means a place to get soup. This is much more than a soup kitchen.
We have a range of programming that focuses on food access, food skills, and advocacy work. So our programming includes a daily community meal that's offered to community members 5 days a week, a healthy food box distribution that happens weekly, which is happening here today, a pre-employment skills training program, cooking classes for kids and youth, as well as a peer advocacy program.
Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami put out a report this week called the Inuit Nunavut Food Security Strategy, which states 3/4 of Inuit adults in Canada have unreliable access to nutritious, affordable food. ITK President Nathan Obed calls it a shameful human rights violation. One of the recommendations is to make it easier to hunt and sell local foods, foods that many in Nunavut prefer. Here at Kajuktivik, what Nunavummiut call country food is becoming a bigger part of the solution.
So we regularly purchase a lot of country food for our programs, specifically our community meal, as well as distribution for our healthy food box, and we also distribute country food to local food banks. So far this year in 2021, we've purchased 3,500 kilograms of country food for our programming, and we've actually just made a commitment that 50% of our meat products for our community meal moving forward for the rest of 2021 will be with country food.
When Iqaluit got hit with COVID-19 over the spring, the Kikitani Inuit Association gave every Inuk adult in Iqaluit gift certificates for food worth $275. A month later, they did it again. The effect at the food center was dramatic.
Demand pretty much disappeared. Yeah, we went from seeing over 200 meals a day to anywhere between 30 to 50 meals a day. So it was a massive decrease.
Inuit food security has been studied relentlessly, with ITKs being the latest. What QIA did this spring with the food vouchers shows that there is indeed one direct way to fight hunger in Nunavut. Make sure people have enough money to buy groceries. Ken Driscoll, APTN National News, Iqaluit.
We have to step aside for one more break, but still to come. A First Nations woman in Manitoba has become her community's first female electrician.
It's like nothing that I've known like any other women in Crossik to do. So I just thought like me going for it would be a stepping stone for other women to go into it.
Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Bill Fowler captured this stunning photo of Mount Robson as seen along the Yellowhead route just along the BC border just west of Jasper, Alberta. Mount Robson stands just under 13,000 feet in height. To submit your photo of the day, send your pictures to share@aptn.ca and then tune in each day to see if your snapshot is our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting in the east, 18 degrees and rain in Charlottetown and 22 in rain in Halifax. 19 in rain in Nain and 24 in Happy Valley Goose Bay. 24 in a mix of sun and cloud in Quebec City and 24 in Montreal. 26 in rain in Toronto and 24 in rain in North Bay. 25 in rain in Timmins and 28 in sun in Big Trout Lake. 19 in sun in Churchill and 25 in rain in Thompson. 27 in a mix of sun and cloud in Winnipeg and 21 in Gimli. 25 in a mix of sun and cloud in Yorkton and 28 in rain in Saskatoon. 26 in a mix of sun and cloud in Stony Rapids and 24 in Buffalo Narrows. In the west, 20 in rain in Fort Chipewyan and 19 in Peace River. 26 in sun in Medicine Hat and 22 in sunshine in Calgary. 27 and sun in Penticton and 21 in Campbell River. 17 and sun and cloud in Dease Lake and 16 in rain in Smithers. 24 and rain in Dawson and 24 in rain in Old Crow. 25 in rain in Wrigley and 22 in Yellowknife. 25 in sun and cloud in Colville Lake and 22 in Fort McPherson. 25 in sunshine in Baker Lake and 23 in sun in Chesterfield. 12 degrees in Iqaluit and 2 degrees in Arctic Bay. A new stunt company in Alberta is working to boost the Indigenous representation of stunt actors in the entertainment industry. Stunt Nations has launched workshops that are drawing youth from all over the country. Tamara Pimentel has this story.
These Indigenous youth are preparing to be stunt actors.
Go ahead. Good job.
Andrea Kay from Sakamay First Nation in Saskatchewan says she didn't have a lot of experience with horses before learning to fall off of one.
A couple of falls there, I scratched up my elbow and my knee pretty bad. I never pictured that I would get into stunts. When I found out Marty was having this, I was determined to do it. So.
Marty Wildman from Stoney Dakota Nation, along with Nathaniel Arcand, are the stuntmen behind this workshop through their company, Stunt Nations. The pair recently worked on the Netflix series Outlander. Wildman says over a dozen Indigenous youth from across the country traveled to Cochrane, Alberta to take this course and to build Indigenous representation in the industry.
In one of the productions that are happening now, one of the comments that were made was that we'd have to paint people red because there's not enough First Nations stunt actors in Alberta or Canada. But I think we've proven that wrong.
Here, students learn basic skills of being a stunt actor, which can be added to their resume for future contracts.
As Indigenous folks, you know, our knowledge is to share. It's not for us to keep. So when the kids left and stuff, I told them all share our knowledge. The more Indigenous people that come out is a good thing because, you know, it shows how much interest there is and how much we want to get back to that authenticity of different roles.
Bang.
Wildman says the course was a hit and could be continuing at the end of August or early September. Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Calgary.
A recently certified electrician is hoping to forge a path for other women in trades and will be bringing her new skills home to help build new infrastructure. Beverly Andrews brings us this story.
I'm going to bring 3 here, and then I'm going to come back up. I'm gonna red them together.
Just over a year ago, Nikki Muswagon from Cross Lake First Nation had no idea how to wire up a house.
I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about the material, like what material was called, how to wire anything, and how to read, especially how to read the code book.
She recently graduated from the Electrical Applications program at the Manitoba Institute of Trades and Technology.
I decided to go into electrical work is because I'm really good with my hands, and before, like, I went to university and I really didn't know what I wanted to do at the time. I went to, like, I was going to go into medicine. For the health center, exactly why I went for that was to become a doctor, to work in the health center. But I realized when I was in school that that wasn't really what I wanted to do. So I was more of a hands-on person. Like, while I was in university, that's what I learned. And I thought, being in a trade, I wanted to go for it, you know. I just thought, why not?
The trades is still male-dominated. Nikki was one of only 4 women in her class. But that didn't hold her back. She carried on with her studies, learned the material, and graduated with new skills and new friends.
The women, like, we really had to prove ourselves, kind of, that we were capable of being in the program. Out of the 40 guys, 2 of them were Indigenous, which was, one was my brother and the other one was our good friend Johnny. And, you know, we kind of came together and really supported each other the way I was with the women.
Nikki and her brother Miquan will both be working on their first project this summer, building a new health center in her community.
It's like nothing that I've known, like, any other women in Cossack to do. So I just thought, like, me going for it would be a stepping stone for other women to go into it.
Nikki hopes others are encouraged to follow her chosen career path, no matter how inaccessible it might seem.
Face your fears, and nothing's ever impossible, like, as long as you put your mind to it.
Beverly Andrews, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Join Melissa Ridgen this fall on the new season of In Focus, as she'll catch up with Nikki, see how the new health center is coming along, and talk everything about women in trades. That's all we have for you tonight on APTN National News. For news anytime, you can visit our website at aptnnationalnews.ca. I'm Daryl Stranger. Thank you for joining us. Have a great night.